This video is being live streamed.
Hey, I think we're live.
Yes.
Try 3 1 2. Here we are. All right. Welcome to Multisport Mondays, episode 14. This is our episode in the middle of summer about hydration and fueling. And if you're new to the show, if you're new to our YouTube channel and podcast, Try 312 is triathlon in Chicago. We cover all things related to multi-sport, endurance sports, swimming, cycling, running, triathlon, all that good stuff. We cover coaches, communities, clubs, races, events, and everything in between that tickles our fancy and gets us excited about living the multi-sport lifestyle in a urban setting of Chicago and our Midwest region. So I'm Coach Chris, and with us today,
Coach Joy, and we have Coach Brian. Remote.
Hi, everybody. Yes, I am remote today. Trying not to bring my COVID cooties into the studio this afternoon because I had the distinct pleasure of catching COVID over the 4th of July weekend. So no fun outdoor activities for me, but I just lived vicariously through everyone else, living their best life in the wonderful weather and all the events that were happening this past weekend in Chicago. So, but glad to be here, and I can't wait to talk more about hydration and fueling.
Yeah. So we are here live from Lakeshore Sport and Fitness, our usual location in downtown Chicago. So thank you, Lakeshore, for letting us set up our usual podcast here. But to get started, before we get into the main topic, why don't we talk about this past weekend? I know, Brian, you were locked indoors for most of it, but did you
I'll
do
let you
anything
talk.
fun or hear about anything fun happening in the Chicago area?
I mean, my family got a chance to have a great time at a wonderful blowout win by the Cubs on 4th of July, which was the plan. But so again, lived vicariously through them. I believe there was some kind of car thing that happened downtown again this weekend. I don't know, Chris, you guys are a little bit closer to that vicinity than I am. So any updates or news how the NASCAR race went down this weekend?
Yeah, I heard there were some cars driving in circles. So yeah, other than that.
Another rain out again yesterday. So I don't know if they continued the race.
Yeah, I think they changed it a little bit, but they shortened it, the race, or they changed the schedule. I didn't look at all the details, but yeah, there's one more year, I think, in the contract that NASCAR will be in Chicago next year as well. The streets are still closed downtown as they're tearing down the giant grandstand stadium, essentially, that they built. But yeah, kind of shuts down downtown Chicago for a good couple weeks. But yeah, we went for a bike ride, and we heard the car engines while we were eating ice cream nearby. After our bike ride, I went out for a nice 50-mile ride with BFF Bikes, which if anyone's ever curious to join in, every Sunday they have a ride and it alternates. Some weeks it's really beginner focused. You know, anyone can join in. Any bike, doesn't matter if you have a commuter bike or whatnot. And then on alternate weekends, on Sundays, and these all start at 8 a.m., we do an endurance ride. And that's where we normally go north or we go south. This weekend, we went south down to Wolf Lake Park and kind of explored the south side, hitting the extension, the South Lakeshore Drive extension off the end of the bike path. So if anyone's ever adventurous enough to go down to the state line, we went to the Indiana-Illinois state line marker, took some fun photos there, hit the Mascot Hall of Fame in Indiana. If you've ever been there, it's like a sports mascot Hall of Fame. It's a museum.
I did not know that.
Yep, we stopped there, stopped at a little coffee shop, and then went past Leon's Triathlon, or the venue for Leon's Triathlon in Wolf Lake, which, by the way, did just open registration. So we just had a good chat with Leon about his race, always the first Sunday in June. And this year they're doing a whopping $100 off the registration rate for the early registration. So part of their July 4th promotion. So if anyone's looking to do Leon's Try next year, make sure you sign up ASAP. I think that kind of promotion runs through summer. So I think through Labor Day weekend, maybe a little bit beyond that. So if you want to get the best discount, it's a really great way to get signed up for a triathlon at a really low price. But yeah, that was our big BFF ride this weekend.
And also for our marathon charity group, for T2, we had our 5K, 10K time trial, but also our triathletes had their first open water swim clinic up at Foster Avenue Beach, along with a impromptu swim clinic.
Yeah.
How did everyone do?
It was good. It was choppy conditions. Foster Avenue is not a protected harbor like Ohio Street or Monroe Harbor is. So we had some choppy conditions, but we learned how to do some body surfing and do beach entries and exits, which was pretty fun, and got a little bit of a swim in. So yeah, this is definitely open water season. I measured the water temperature, if anyone's curious, at a couple different places at both Ohio Street and up north. And it was pretty consistent, about 69.1 up to 70.6 degrees is what I measured the water temperature at. So we're now in the 70s, which is nice. You almost don't even need a wetsuit to swim in these temperatures now.
It's still nice in a wetsuit.
It's still nicer in a wetsuit. Yeah, that's true.
Beach training there. That is the home of the Chicago Tri Super Sprint, Divvy Super Sprint, and the Kids Triathlon.
Yeah, yep. So every Saturday morning now we're doing Tri 312 clinics, little duathlon workouts, brick workouts, transition clinics. So definitely be sure to check that out if anyone is interested to train alongside our charity athletes from Team Dunedin's.
Yes.
Cool. Any other updates or things that you guys did this weekend?
No. While I was indoors all the time, so we did jump into a fun sort of I think it's a 3 or 4 part series on Netflix called Sprint.
That was amazing.
Did you watch it, Joy?
Yes, I binge watched it while riding the bike.
Yeah,
there's probably no better of like a show to like do while you're having to do an indoor training ride, because you're just like in the midst of massively elite sprinters training for and competing against each other and various circus events, and also for the World Championships last year. And then of course, like this obviously was going to lead into what will hopefully probably even transpire into for the coming Olympics. So having seen this series, getting to know a little bit more about the sprinters, I'm actually that much more excited going in and watching the Olympics this year for track and field, and seeing if we will have an American hit the double. So
it's a possibility. I mean, we're 18 days away from the Olympic Games now. So opening ceremonies, July 26th. Get ready to just sit and be aware and enamored and inspired.
Joy, that same weekend. What probably going to be the best weekend of the entire world is going to be the opening ceremonies of the Summer Olympics, and Deadpool and Wolverine come out. I mean, come on.
2 days. Well, actually, 2 days before the opening ceremonies, it's actually my birthday.
And it's Joy's birthday. So
yeah,
it gets better though, because that weekend as well, we have our indoor triathlon as well. So we'll have a birthday Olympic indoor tri extravaganza, Deadpool extravaganza.
And I think that's the Wakanda triathlon weekend too.
Yeah, and also the Fulton Market Grand Prix, the biggest bike race in almost in the country, in Chicago, is also that Sunday. So that will be a fun-filled,
that'll be a weekend.
very packed weekend.
Yes.
Well, speaking of weekends, we have a busy weekend coming up, but since we are in the heat of summer, our theme this week is hydration and fueling. So tips for all of our athletes about hydration and fueling. Speaking of, while Brian is taking a swig, we're all taking a little swig of
Cheers.
hydration.
Cheers. Salute, everyone.
Staying hydrated. Cheers. There we go. Stay hydrated. But yeah, hydration fueling has become, I think, a bigger and bigger topic in the last couple of years. I've seen the science has matured quite a bit. I know you guys probably as coaches, we all get a lot of questions about fueling and hydration. And there's a lot of new products coming out even this year. A whole suite of new products have been coming out, new sports technology as well. And so it can be a little bit daunting to kind of figure out what should you be doing. And so the main thing I wanted to cover as a tip is really helping people understand hydration a little bit better. There's a lot of products out there. Some products have or advertise electrolytes and mostly talk about sodium or salt, which is sodium and chloride. Usually you see those together in almost like a 1-to-2 ratio is what is essentially table salt, is one of the major electrolytes, and potassium. So like Gatorade, as an example, has sodium chloride and potassium. But then other sports nutrition products like Gatorade Endurance Formula also has magnesium, calcium. So you see these kind of 5 major electrolytes, and there's others as well, but those are the main ones. Sodium chloride, so the positive and negative ions that make up salt, and then potassium, magnesium, and calcium are kind of the 5 main electrolytes that we generally in endurance sports want people to be putting into their body to help, keep a balanced state of hydration as you're sweating profusely.
Yes.
Especially as your core body temperature goes up. So without geeking out on it too much, I wanted to look through and just show an example here. For those who are watching the YouTube channel, you can see this, but basically I looked at the kind of 5 major different types of hydration product from a single brand. So Gatorade, for example, has regular Gatorade Endurance Formula, which both can be found in the same exact bottle. So it can be a little confusing. Gatorade Zero, G2, and their newer product, the Gator Light, which used to be a powder you could buy. Now it comes in ready to drink bottles. And all of these are same brand, but different levels of things like electrolytes, carbs, so on and so forth.
It serves a different purpose.
Yeah,
Right.
So a quick trivia question, I guess, to Brian and Joy. Which of these Gatorade products do you think has the highest amount of electrolytes in it? Some of you might already know, but what do you think, Brian? Any guess?
Which one has the highest amount of electrolytes?
Yep.
The one with light at the end.
Joy?
The Gator Lights.
Yep. So you guys are both good coaches. You know your products very well. Yep. I like to bring that up and encourage people to look at the labels. Make sure you understand what you're putting in your body first and foremost. But even within a single brand, you'll see different products. Gator Light is intended as kind of like a liquid form of like an IV. If you needed to get your electrolytes balanced very quickly, get a lot of electrolytes in and digested very quickly. It's kind of like a rehydration product after working out. It has a very large amount of electrolytes. If you can see on the screen there, 490 milligrams of sodium and a gram of chloride. So 1.5 grams of salt. That's quite a bit. The normal recommendation that you'll find in regular Gatorade products, like Gatorade Endurance Formula or Gatorade Thirst Quencher, 160 to 300 milligrams. So if you're drinking a water bottle per hour, the general recommendation is always about 350 milligrams up to 500 milligrams per hour. But now you're seeing products that are doing even more than that. And they all have different levels of carbs as well. So like G2 is actually kind of like Gatorade divided by 2, if you want to think of it that way. And there's Gatorade Zero. But there's other products out there now, like that are super, super salty or super high electrolytes. For the triathletes doing Ironman events, for example, now there's a new product at a lot of Ironman events called Mortal Hydration, and they have a 500 milligram and 1,000 milligram per hour product. So you can get a gram of electrolytes in one water bottle, essentially, which is literally 3 times what used to be the recommendation, but they're finding now that actually works better for extreme environments, hot conditions when you're sweating a lot. Scratch had what they call the hyperhydration, but now they have a high sodium product that has 1.7 grams of sodium in it. So really high amount as well. And then just like Gatorade's Gator Light, Body Armor has their Flash IV product that has actually almost 2.3 grams of electrolytes in it. So these are actually really good if you're, really suffering after a hot workout for multiple hours, but not necessarily something that you would be drinking the whole time you're working out, because that would be a lot of electrolytes to try to digest. And you don't want to end up being, too high or too low sodium. You want to try to keep everything balanced. Same thing with potassium. Hyperkalemia happens when you get too much potassium in your system. Now, if your body can't digest and tolerate it, you're just throwing out off the, essentially the hydration level of your body. So be aware of what you take in is probably the most important thing.
And a good combination of conversation to have after our heat acclimatization conversation we had from last week. So if you have not listened to that, jump back a week and we'll talk more a little about heat training and the benefits of. So this does go pretty much hand in hand.
Yeah. And one thing to think about too, as you're training in the heat, is how much more you might sweat when it's hotter out, or just when your intensity is higher, right? So if it gets really hot out, you probably don't want to go into zone 5, right? You want to keep the intensities a lot lower so your core body temperature does not go too high. That's what ends up causing you to sweat a lot. But we're seeing now a lot of products come out. I actually have now, I think personally, I use about 6 different types of sweat, hydration, heat technology devices, if you will. We've seen people using the Gatorade sweat patches, which are just a patch you wear for about an hour. You can go up to just over an hour, I think an hour and a half, depending on your sweat rate. And you take a picture of the patch and it shows your sodium concentration and your sweat rate. And so the software that is in their app then tells you your key stats and recommends what you should be hydrating with. There's also some products now that are trying to get sweat glucose, telling you how much sugar, kind of measuring your glucose level through sweat, like the Absolute Sweat. I also use H Drop as a little armband or the sensor you can put on your chest strap that measures your not just your sweat rate and the sodium concentration, but also the potassium concentration. And then there's products like Nix has become pretty popular, is integrated in with Garmin's Training Peaks, so you can wear this device. But both Nix and the Gatorade Sweat Patch are single-use patches. So the sensor on Nix is reusable, but it does have a hard cost of, I think, between like $5 to $10 per patch in order to use it. So for some, that might be cost prohibitive. But using these, I use them with our athletes when we test in our metabolic lab as well. We'll sometimes do a sweat test, an active sweat test during a metabolic test. And that way you can at least figure out, what is your sodium concentration level and how much do you sweat on a typical basis. And there's a couple other products as well. So it's interesting to see how much has changed just in the last year, really. A lot of these products have actually come about and matured quite a bit. So there's a lot of options out there.
I think we need to have an updated Coach Chris's technical corner and have you do your own video where you do a compare, contrast, and eval and rating your 4-star rating of the products.
Which products I like the most.
Yeah,
that would be a good, cool thing to do.
And pros and cons, like when does one work better, or is more accessible or easier to use, or whatever that may be. And we might help provide a little bit more direction and guidance for some of our listeners and viewers out there.
Yeah, and I would say if anyone's getting into this now, it's definitely the early adopter phase. A lot of the products, the apps are updating every couple months, and there's little bugs and things that are becoming a lot more useful very quickly as well. But it's good just to be aware that there's stuff out there that you can do. The Gatorade sweat patches you can pick up at a lot of different retail stores like Dick's Sporting Goods and whatnot. So there's some that are more readily available. But the best thing to do is just learn. Use it as an opportunity to learn. You don't have to get a product like this Or you could just start with the sweat patches from Gatorade. I think it's like $25 for 2 patches. So
Yeah.
for $25, you can begin to learn a little bit more yourself. But I just wanted people to be aware of those products out there. Really, the best thing you can do, though, as an athlete is just to test yourself. The simple way of weighing yourself before and after a workout, for example, and do that in both like an indoor controlled climate and then also do it out in like a hot and humid environment at least a couple times. And that way you can get an idea for what your sweat rate is and how much you might need to hydrate with. Like I know for me, in some cases, I need to drink more than 2 water bottles per hour when I'm sweating a lot in the hot and humid conditions. But if it's a controlled environment, I'm fine with 1 water bottle per hour. And that's a good general guideline, I would say, for everybody is 1 water bottle per hour under normal conditions, 2 water bottles per hour under hot conditions, ideally with some type of sugar and electrolytes. So any sports nutrition product is usually about a 6 to 7% concentration of carbs. That's a good amount to take in with those drinks. And then up to, around 500 milligrams of sodium. You can do more if you're hotter or if you sweat, if you're a saltier sweater, go up to 1 gram per hour. But that's usually the kind of starting point, I would say, for most athletes.
Also thinking about if you're doing your weekend training and it's going to be hot, don't wait until the day of training to do your hydration. Start a couple of days before. Just don't, it's hot. Okay, let me start drinking now. You're 5 miles into either a bike or a run. Start a couple of days before so you're not in that deficit going into your workout.
Yeah.
Yep. And a good general guideline is you don't want to be losing more than 2 to 3% of your body mass as you're going through an endurance event. So if you do that math very quickly, you can figure out if you're someone who weighs 150 or up to 200 pounds, that might be like 3 to 5 pounds, give or take. I know that I can sweat more than 5 pounds off in a single hour. And I've done a hot, humid run without hydration. I've sweat over that a few times. Not recommended, especially if you're going to be out there for multiple hours. So figuring it out, just do a couple of tests. Gatorade, the Sports Science Institute, GSSI, they have a great website with a lot of research, a lot of resources. They have a little calculator you can use to help you do the math of figuring out like your weight before and after, and then you can factor in how much you are consuming on top of that to kind of determine your sweat rate. That's a really good starting point. The other resource I recommend quite a bit too is Precision Fuel and Hydration. Is a company that does sweat testing, but they also have a sweat loss calculator, like a really detailed spreadsheet. And if you test yourself multiple times, you can just keep updating that spreadsheet, get more sample data points, and you can dial things in. But it really is important. If you're spending hours and hours doing longer distance events, especially, if it's just a sprint or Olympic try, you don't need to get this complicated with things. But if you're getting into the half Ironmans and marathons and things like that, then that's the point where you're out there for 3, 4, 5, 6+ hours. This stuff becomes pretty critical, even just from a safety perspective, not necessarily just the performance perspective.
And for those watching on YouTube, if you aren't able to see that information very well on the screen behind, we will make sure we will have links down below in the description at the end of our live take. When we come back in and refresh on the review, we will have those links down below so that you can go in there and maybe play around a little bit.
Yep, you can message us on the social medias or email us. We can send you any resources just in case it's something that we mentioned that is not in the show notes. But yeah, we'll always try to make sure that we put all the links and information to this stuff in the show notes. So look in the description or show notes and we'll have links to Gatorade, Precision Fuel and Hydration, and a bunch of these other resources as well. One other thing I was going to plug is we did a podcast recently with one of the Tour de France cyclists, one of the top cyclists in the world, Florian Vermeersch. He's on Lotto Destiny. He did a podcast with us on the TriDot podcast. So if you want to check that out, I think it's episode 241, I believe. We'll put the link to this as well. It's interesting to hear from a Pro Tour cyclist. We talk a little bit about fueling and hydration in that podcast. So if you want to listen to that, especially with the Tour de France going on right now, you can actually see him racing live on TV every day. So I think today's their off day, but tomorrow they're back at it after the first week of the tour. So you'll see a lot of those athletes actually using these products that we talked about a bit. So watch and learn.
Yes.
Cool. All right. So we want to end this whole hydration and fueling talk with a question to everybody out there in social media land. We want to know what hydration and fueling products and technology that you use. What do you use? What do you recommend? And also maybe let us know what you would like us to take a look at. Maybe
and test, try it out.
We'll be doing a future episode on fueling and trying some different products out. Maybe we'll bring in some guest speakers or different brands. So if you guys have any brands you recommend, individuals you'd like us to interview, or certain products you'd like us to discuss, send us a note or just put a comment and let us know what products you use and what products you'd like us to look into.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment.
Yes.
Chris, what's your hydration fueling products right now currently? Because it change for all of us, it changes from year to year.
Yeah, as new stuff comes out, we always like to see if we can improve upon what we do. For the last several, I've gone through probably every brand out there over the years, but more recently, my last couple like Ironman races and ultra cycling, I've been doing Tailwind is my main source of electrolytes and carbs, but then supplementing that as well. I use Noon Hydration. Noon has an endurance product that I like. You can get a lot of electrolytes in, and the taste is something you don't get tired of. So you can get in a lot of electrolytes very efficiently in a balanced manner. So I like a lot of the Noon products. They have some with caffeine, some without, like the variety of flavors. So I use Noon quite a bit. Tailwind is most of my sugar. But yeah, I experiment with almost everything. I've been using the Mortal Hydration because that's going to be on a lot of the Ironman courses as well, both their regular and salty ones. The only thing I'll say about that is with the salty one, especially if you're mixing it, make sure you really mix it well. A lot of products that are extra salty, if you're mixing a powder, sometimes the powder can get to the bottom of the water bottle, and then your last couple of sips are like just eating a salt packet, basically. It's like you'll get most of the electrolytes.
Sour Patch Kid.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why it's important, like you were saying, about experimenting and using in training, so you can figure out like if there's little quirks to like opening up the package, or does it mix well or not. But yeah, that's the main one that I've been using. What about you, Jill?
I'm strictly Noon Endurance and Noon Sport, the tablets. I think I'm the only one, and I did speak with some of the Noon reps a week ago, like a week ago, for an event they had here in Chicago. On the courses, I will bring the Noon tablets. I will take the Noon tablet in my mouth and take it with a shot of water. I think I'm the only one who does that, and it doesn't faze me. But it's one of those things that it hasn't done any upset with my stomach. My body loves it. I like the Noon Endurance I do with caffeine, because caffeine is a food group. Fight me on it. I've tried the Mortal, because I know it's going to be on the Ironman course. I do not like it. Oh God, I don't like it. I've tried Scratch Labs, Morton. That was something the taste was off-putting. I've tried Infinite. So I mean, just like Chris, I've tried, I think, every product that's been under the sun since the inception of, I guess, hydration drinks. So
yeah, and I would say a tip with that too, like whenever you're trying something new, always, if you go to a store and buy something, buy at least 2 or 3 of the same product, and also different flavors. So I know the first time I tried the Morton gel, I was like, whoa, I was just not used to this kind of like slimy, gooey texture. It's like a soft jello. But then once I had it a couple more times, like now I love it. It's one of my favorite gels to use. So it just depends on, finding the right flavor and then also getting your body used to it by doing it at least a couple different times.
But also just know that over time, whatever that formulation is of the hydration that you've had, the formulation might change. So be aware of that. The original Ultima Replenisher, when it first came out, it tasted like liquid jello with aspartame. That is the exact description of it. But they changed the formulation roughly 5 years later, and it's like, this is almost like Kool-Aid without the extra sugar.
Yeah, a lot of brands have switched between like, sucrose, glucose, maltodextrin, like the type of sugar they use, and also the electrolytes. Like there's different quality, different types, like, what type of magnesium is it? And there's a lot of nuances to that it's beyond my grade. And I would encourage anyone who's really getting into it, or if you're kind of unsure, the most important thing, especially if you start kind of bridging between fueling and hydrating during training and racing, and also nutrition, pre, post, and all around, you want to make sure that you're actually talking to a registered dietitian, ideally, or a nutritionist, actually going through and having someone guide you, especially if there's any type of medical conditions that you might need to work around. You don't want to have even a nutritionist will have a good amount of knowledge, but you want to find someone who specializes in sports nutrition, and ideally a registered dietitian when you get down to like the really detailed level of impacting the rest of your diet. But
like if you're really looking for a full-on meal plan, like that's what they do. Like somebody like us or nutritionists, I mean, they can give you guidance, but it'll be a registered dietitian that will need to give you, if you're really looking for what you are scheduled to eat on a daily basis, macros and everything, that will be a registered dietitian.
Yeah, and especially when it gets to the point where if you ever have issues, so if you notice you've struggled for some reason with, cramping, hydration, fueling properly, just bonking, and you can't seem to figure it out yourself, go find a registered dietitian to work with, maybe even do some food sensitivity testing and things like that. Because you might find like some products might have the right amount of electrolytes and might be kind of perfectly balanced, but they just use a certain type of sugar that doesn't really work for you for some reason. Brian, what about you? Any products that you recommend and use currently, or do you experiment a lot?
Yeah, experiment a lot, especially starting out. And that's one of the key pieces of advice that we've discussed already with athletes, is to try things, like try different stuff, because different products are going to fit your style, fit your stomach, fit your GI just a little bit differently. So there could be a product that I recommend or I might partner with that would be that are a great option. But if you go in and go 100% all in on it, and then come to find out that your GI system just does not agree with it, then you might feel like you got a little over committed into one particular brand. So especially if you're starting out, for a lot of new athletes, try different brands, try different products, try different styles, different textures, because goos and gel blocks, are you going to go all liquid, or are you going to, or do you need to feel like you need to eat something and satiate that desire when you are on the bike or on the run? Everybody's just a little bit different, and you'll want to sort of discover those things. And great, especially when you're doing long course, is to go through at least several sort of race day rehearsals to be able to see, does this combination of hydration and fueling, the amounts, the timing at which you are doing those things, are working with your specific GI. And again, doing it in both in a controlled environment, but also taking it outdoors and learning, number one, does how it's arranged on my body and on my bike, does that work? Because I've had a lot of athletes going like, well, I tried it, but then I'd had a hard time like navigating, getting to it. Maybe it was in their back of their tri kit or their cycling jersey, and it just took forever to get out, and they couldn't figure out, like you said, like how does it open? So you'll want to
Open.
try, yeah. So you'll want to try and test all of those things. But for now, I'm working mostly with Infinite at the moment,
Mm.
and it's actually working really well for me. It allows you to create a custom blend. So the taste and the amount of carbs, the amount of electrolytes, and any other little extras that you might want to have in there can be included. So far that I've been working with this the past year and a half, it's worked very well. Like I don't feel like the need to necessarily eat anything. I've never really had that. Most of my feeling has always mostly been through liquid. Although on occasion I will take a UCAN gel. So that's sort of my long burning log that I need to start each hour. So I've been using UCAN for a while when they first introduced the idea of a super starch, and being able to again, the idea is trying to create brands that are have less or create or cause less GI issues. So those are two brands that have worked really well for me. I do maybe add on occasion a little sprinkle of my especially on our recovery is my BCAAs. um, Especially for like post workouts, especially strength training workouts, just to give me a little bit of extra recovery in addition to my hydration. So it's primarily those these days, and I think the mix and the blend of carbohydrates and the electrolytes in there, like all the bike rides and the runs that I've done thus far, I felt I've had really good energy, not only during, but also evaluating like how your energy levels are after the workout. That's also going to be a good determination of like how is that combination of hydration and fueling working for you.
Yeah. And for those who aren't familiar, BCAAs are branched chain
Chain
amino
amino.
acids, which are basically amino acids are the building
blocks.
blocks of protein, if you want to think about muscle and whatnot. So it's a way to get protein in it. And there are a lot of endurance products that also have protein in them. So whether it's just BCAAs or actual protein, the GU gels, for those who are familiar with the GU brand, GU, they have BCAAs in a lot of their gels, and they also have their Roctane gels
That's right.
are more of like an endurance focused gel that I think have even more amino acids than their regular ones. So yeah, it's interesting. You use, nutrition and fueling as an opportunity to learn, ask around, especially experienced athletes, and also look at, nutritionists and dietitians who have especially endurance sports backgrounds, and we can recommend. We have a few. Maybe that's what one of our next guest speakers should be. Actually, we'll try to get one of our local endurance sports expert RDs to come on and talk more about fueling and diet. So
That'd be great.
cool.
Yeah. One other thing to mention, and I think sometimes when you are going through like a Fleet Feet or any other place that has some of the fueling gel goo options, just notice too, especially if you are sensitive to caffeine, there's some of those gels and goos that are already pre-made with caffeine. So if you have sometimes an adverse reaction, or if you've already had maybe too much caffeine that day with coffee or anything else like that, just be cognizant of which ones you're grabbing, and for those that are caffeine integrated.
Yep. Yeah.
Some of them, like even with like the noon hydration, you can tell which one has caffeine, which doesn't. If you buy the sport tab, the blue tab, the blue top is no caffeine. If it's a black top, it has caffeine.
Gotcha.
But also, there are other websites you can go to buy sample packs. So you can get like a plethora of, okay, let me try these different brands and see how they work. You can go to the feed.com
Yeah.
and they have so many different, there we go.
Oh,
She talked
all
about
right.
the black cap. So this is the noon with the black cap. That's the one with When it says energy, they have a little caffeine boost built into it.
It's the regular pina colada flavor. It's really good. But try and just don't be limited to one flavor or one type, because you're going to find at this moment, I will not touch goo ever again. Ironman 2012,
Yeah.
Arizona, goo, vanilla, peanut butter, and
Ugh.
chocolate.
Yikes.
I can, at the end of that Ironman, I did not want to see a goo packet ever again.
For some reason, yeah. I was just gonna say, for some reason, like I can't ever gravitate to the chocolate, the peanut butters, the vanillas. Those seem more like desserts, and not necessarily like something I want like in my endurance sport activity. Like I feel like that needs to be more like your fruits, your punches, your, those kind of flavors. That I don't know. That's just me. That's my mental like adherence. But like whenever I see those, I'm like, okay, that seems more like a post workout type of flavor and not a during workout flavor.
That's what I always thought. We actually did the taste testing when Goo was coming out with the different chocolate flavors, and they came to our pasta dinner before the Chicago try, and we did taste testing of their different types of chocolate that they were going to use for the new Goo chocolate flavor. And it was a good, after dinner snack or dessert.
Yeah.
But most of us were like, "Oh no, I don't think we would eat this like during an event." And that's what I thought at first too. And then it is my go-to, like Goo chocolate,
Is it
chocolate
really?
outrage, like
All
full of
right.
caffeine. My go-to gel late in Ironman races. It's
Okay.
like the only gel that I can get down, and I can keep getting it down. Whereas I found other gels, I just get sick of them for the taste. So what works for
Okay.
one person might not work
Yeah.
for the other.
There you
And it's
go.
important to test in different conditions too, especially when you're like dehydrated, hot and humid. Like you'd be surprised. Sometimes your body just responds better to something that's a little bit different. So best thing to do is experiment, get a
Experiment.
lot of different products and make sure you use them before race day.
New on
Different
race day,
strokes for
please.
different folks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. All right. Well, I think we've covered that topic pretty well. Let's get into real quick a little weekend preview. We've got a lot of events going on this weekend. Probably can't cover them all, but there's definitely a couple big ones that we wanted to mention. I know, Joy, you're heading out somewhere for a race.
Yes, I'm to try Louisville. So this upcoming Saturday is the Indiana's state championship triathlon in Ter-
Laporte.
Laporte, Indiana. And then on Sunday, the 14th, I will be doing the Olympic distance at Tri Louisville in Louisville, Kentucky.
Yeah, I think they're both state
They're both
championships for
state
USAT.
championships.
So if you want to do two state championships in one weekend,
You technically
you
could.
could try to do both. And then also this Saturday here in Chicago, we've got our big open water swim clinic series continuing. So July 13th, for Saturday clinics, 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. I think it's almost sold out, if not already. So sign up ASAP if you want to join in on that one. Good opportunity to see coaches like myself and some of our other coaches on the beach giving a lot of good open water swimming tips and advice. And those are just two of the big weekend events. I know, Brian, do you have any other events that you're
Yeah,
going
well,
to?
while y'all are in the big water, I will be in the small water in Lamont. So this Saturday on the 13th, starting at 6 a.m., will be the Lamont U.S. Masters swim meet, and we'll start off with a 400-meter swim. So I will be kicking that off on Saturday morning, bright and early. And so yeah, looking forward to it. Although I've been not been able to train that much in the last 5 to 6 days. So, and having had COVID, I'm not sure exactly how my performance will be for that particular event. So I'm just going to be looking forward to jumping in, mixing it up, and I've got 4 other athletes in my master swim group that will be coming out and competing, some for the very first time. So I'm more excited to just be there with my team and have a little bit of fun doing some relays and yeah, all that good stuff.
And I think we got a couple Ironman events coming up as well. I think this weekend is at Muncie. I think is this weekend.
Muncie is this weekend.
Yep.
Muncie 70.3, and then
Ohio.
Ohio is actually following.
Yep.
Then we also have Ironman Lake Placid coming up, and then we have Ironman Michigan. Is it Michigan 70.3 and then Louisville?
Oh, that one's in September.
Yeah, Michigan should be in
Louisville
September, right?
70.3.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Speaking of 70.3s, we have some news from a local 70.3. Our Rockford.
The Rockford 70.3 has just gone to tier 2. So tier 1 sold out already after the first week. So definitely sign up for that one if you want to join us there next year. We have a couple of our athletes actually, and I should also plug, I forgot to mention, this past weekend was actually another somewhat local but more regional Ironman, Muskoka 70.3. We actually had one of our local athletes who lives just down the street from here qualify for 70.3 Worlds.
Nice.
So it's going to be in Marbella, Spain next year. This year it's in New Zealand. So shout out to Rory. He did really well, going sub 440, I think, at his 70.3 this past weekend. So got some fast Chicago athletes out there doing well at the local Ironman events.
Nice.
And then other events too, because we're at the start of the month, we want to mention two of kind of like the biggest or the newest events, I guess, in Chicago that are happening this month in terms of endurance sports. At the end of July 28th, the Fulton Market Grand Prix, a criterium bike race, is happening in a new location in the West Loop, right in front of the SRAM headquarters, where a big cycling brand is, and the Specialized Bike Shop. So definitely pencil that on your calendars on July 28th. We'll be out there all day, helping out, volunteering, really trying to see if Chicago can create one of the nation's premier bike races. This is a national level event with a lot of pro teams coming in, so it should be super duper exciting. Definitely make sure to pencil that in your calendars. And that same weekend, we have our next indoor triathlon. So first time we've done our summer indoor tri series. And we have one coming up. It's a Saturday afternoon. Oh, got a typo there, but afternoon from 1 to 4 p.m. on July 27th. So sign up at try312.com. We might actually put a little discount code in the description and show notes. So stay tuned for that. And you can sign up for the email list just going to try312.com to get more information about the indoor tri. This is kind of our race rehearsal before the Chicago Triathlon. So it'll be our big race for our new triathletes to get ready for the big Chicago Tri race coming up at the end of the month. And so if you're not familiar with indoor tries, by the way they typically work, we have a pool swim. So we have a nice 8-lane pool here downtown that we'll be using. So 8 athletes at a time do a 10-minute swim, and the results are based on how much distance you cover using our 3-1-2 multiplier. So 3 times your distance of swimming plus 1 times your distance biking, which is on indoor spin bikes with power meters. And then the run is typically either on a treadmill or, in this case, an indoor running track. And we do 2 times your run distance. And we add it all together, and you get your results based on how much distance you cover. And it's a fun way to do a triathlon, because whether you're the fastest athlete or the slowest, everyone does the same amount of work. It's a set time duration. So you get to start and finish together, no matter the ability level. So if you have friends, you want to get new people into triathlon, this is really a fun way to get into the sport without needing a lot of equipment. And you can do the whole thing in an hour. So start to finish. Yeah. So definitely check that out.
Or in 8 minutes, as that video flies.
Yeah. So if you guys want, Brian did put a pretty fun little video together at the last indoor tri, taking you through start to finish in a time lapse, sped up process, the swim, bike, and run of an indoor triathlon. So you can see exactly what all the equipment, what the environment looks like. So feel free to check that out or share that with some friends.
And in addition to that one, there is a great video from a little bit earlier on when we first started this whole gig where we had some great interviews with athletes that were at our one of our first indoor tries this year, and getting a sense of how they were feeling, what their experience was like. A very large variety of different athletes, and great advice, great feedback. So if you get a chance to jump down and find that video, we may even have a link to it here in our description as well. But in our video log, it's a great interview with a lot of great athletes in their first or their like dozenth, hundredth of their indoor try.
We're going to have some pretty big prizes at this one too. So definitely make sure you sign up and join us on July 27th.
Cool.
Cool. All right. What else do we have? So, triathlon news. I think we talked about all the local state championships that are going on. So we mentioned the LaPorte Triathlon, July 13th.
This weekend.
Louisville, 14th. Yeah, this weekend, the two big ones. And then the other state championship, Illinois, is the Chicago Triathlon this year. So definitely, if you're looking to qualify, if you get in the top, it depends on the distance of event, but usually 15, 25, or top 35% of your age group, you can qualify for a national championship. So check that out. There'll be extra awards, both for clubs, high schools, high school athletes. And so there's a lot of extra, a few extra competitions going on at those events. Swimming, we talked about the swim meet, I think, and the open water swim clinics. We are also now moving. Oh, yeah, we got the TriDot Pool School coming up next month. So if you want to sign up for that, August 10th and 11th, that is the TriDot Pool School, a weekend swim camp with a bunch of us local and TriDot coaches from around the country actually flying in to host a big indoor weekend of swimming, a Saturday afternoon and Sunday morning. Great way to up your swim game in a very short period of time. So take a look at that. And then our weeknight classes are now moving out to the lake. So we're moving our Thursday night classes out to the lake. So if anyone wants to join us for little swim clinics and timed swims on Thursday nights, we'll be out there at 5:30, and the Chicago Tri Club is doing their stroke and strides at 6:30 p.m. every Thursday night as well. So a fun way to get involved in the triathlon community.
And it looks like the August pool school might be sold out.
Oh yeah, it's starting to fill up pretty quick.
All right.
So,
and if you missed that one,
events,
or if you have missed that one now, then I think they just announced new dates that will be coming in October, I believe.
Yep.
So we'll be back around.
At least one more before the end of the year, hopefully. So for the marathon runners who want to want to switch to swimming after the marathon, that October pool school might be the right one for them.
Good recovery camp.
And then I think we covered all the major cycling and news. Obviously, the big news right now in the cycling world this month is the Tour de France is going on. So we won't delve into that. But if you've been geeking out on that, I've been watching every stage every day. It's a lot of fun to see all the new technology.
Yeah.
They have one more time trial stage coming up. We can see a lot of triathlon or future triathlon tech with the bikes that they use in the Tour.
Speaking of technology and the Tour, I don't know if you've seen this video or this meme coming through the Instagrams, but it's AI generated, or if AI generated the Tour de France, it is hysterical and disturbing at the same time.
Yeah, AI has not figured out how to handle the Tour de France.
They don't know how to do human movement just yet.
I'll get there eventually.
I think they did one for the gymnasts as well.
Yeah, definitely come check out. This is a quick video where we got up in the background here on what used to be called the Intelligentsia Cup, but is now the Chicago Grit Series. So definitely come check that out on July 28th if you want to get your local fix of Tour de France caliber supplement.
So sign up to volunteer.
Yes.
Because we need more volunteers.
Which is a good segue. And then running events, I don't think we have any big running events. Usually in Chicago, we don't have any major running events. There's a lot of 5Ks and smaller events going on just because of how hot it is. We don't tend to have as many running events until we get to the fall. So the big events are coming up in the fall. but there's definitely a lot of local and regional events taking place in the heat of the running season right now.
Cool.
So yeah, to wrap up, want to mention, the Rockford race. The big news in the last couple of weeks has been that we have an Ironman event coming to Illinois next year in June, and the registration is beginning to fill up. So definitely try to get signed up for June 22nd next year, or pencil that into your calendars. It'll definitely be an exciting event to see the first ever Ironman event in Illinois. So definitely be sure to check that out. We'll be organizing a few other things around this too, maybe some group rides up in the Rockford area. So stay tuned for details as we get the insider tips and tricks about the Rockford Ironman event put together.
I'm excited.
And then our final things I was going to mention, where are we? Yep. Real quick. So next show, we will probably cover all the new things with the Chicago Triathlon. We have over 15 things that are going to be different at the Chicago Triathlon this year. So some new and exciting things. A couple are being confirmed still, but a lot of new things that have already been announced. And also this Thursday at noon, I'm going to post the details to a webinar we're going to be doing. So you can join via Zoom, a info session about the Chicago Triathlon's new corporate challenge program. This is a new program that kind of replicates what the Malibu Triathlon has been doing for years, and having a corporate challenge for companies to have teams. So a new and exciting thing. So stay tuned, and hopefully next Multisport Monday we'll have a few big updates on this. But yeah, this Thursday there's a webinar going on if you want to get some more details about this, including how you can get a VIP bike rack for your team in the Chicago Tri Transition area. Nice. And free entry into all of the open water swim clinics. So some exciting new perks. One other new thing I wanted to mention with the Chicago Tri, but we have it with a lot of other local events too. We always want to encourage athletes to give back to the local triathlon community, help events be successful. So whether that's volunteering at races and expos, one thing we try to coordinate is some of the bike support. One of our coaches, she helps coordinate the bike support crew at the Chicago Tri that ride around and help people fix flat tires and mechanicals. And new this year, we're also going to have a lead bike volunteer position at the Chicago Tri. So if you have anyone who wants to help be a lead out cyclist to ride in front of the first athletes that get on the run course, we're going to have cyclists kind of accompany them and lead out the athletes, and also the para athletes, so the adaptive athlete divisions as well. So we need a few volunteer cyclists. So if you're not racing the Chicago Tri, you can come volunteer with us. And a lot of the other local events as well, our indoor triathlons, we always encourage volunteerism there. It's a great way to meet people and socialize, connect with others. And then the Fulton Market Grand Prix, that big bike race, it's going to be happening for the first time in that new location. We'll need a lot of volunteers as well. So you can come hang out with us all day if you want to volunteer at those events. So we actually have a Team Reach group. If you download a phone app called Team Reach, you can join our little chat communities. There's one group for Tri312. Your group code is just Tri312. And if you're a cyclist that likes to volunteer at local running events, wants to be a lead biker, you can use group code LEADBIKE to join our kind of volunteer crew for those events. So check that out. And then our final little thing for this week that we want to encourage you guys to feel welcome to join, whether it's that Team Reach group that I mentioned. You can join group code TRI312 when you download the Team Reach app. That's a great way you can meet us, connect with us virtually, connect with our fellow athletes, find out about local events, training rides and runs and clinics and things that are going on. And we also have a Strava group that you can join as well. So you can search for the Tri312 Chicago Clubs and Communities group on Strava. That's a great way to see where people go to ride and run across Chicagoland. So a great way if you're looking for different bike routes, find out where people like to train, join our Strava group. And I think that's pretty much it. So if you guys have any questions or topics you'd like to see us cover in future episodes, shoot us an email. coach@try312.com will come to us, or follow us on all the social medias, Try312 Triathlon. So at Try312 Triathlon, hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and yeah, hopefully we'll see you all as you try in the Chi.
And don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment below on a question you may be pondering or responding to one of our questions.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for supporting our channel. And if you enjoy what we're doing or what we're aspiring to do, please share to all of your tri friends, normal friends, tri curious friends, everyone that you think might be able to be interested in this information or be willing to share and help us grow this community, grow the channel, and get more great quality content and information out to our community here in the Chicagoland area. So thank you.
All right. We'll see you guys next time.
Have a great